Alright, here we go. Today is the day, my friends. Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Elise, and here I share videos about all parts of my human life experience, which recently have been involving somatic healing, conscious communication, healthy lifestyle, and in today's video, oh my goodness, we're going to dive into something that I have talked about a little bit on this channel. I just want to have a dedicated video to this juicy topic that I have been diving deep into and exploring for the past 4 years of my life, which is the survival patterns, also known as the 5 personality patterns, a book that I have on my bookshelf that is very near and dear to my heart. Today's video is going to be a thorough overview of all things survival patterns. Welcome aboard. This was introduced to me almost 4 years ago from one of my mentors. It's written by Stephen Kessler. On the front it says, "Your guide to understanding yourself and others and developing emotional maturity." So here's the story of how it goes. When a newborn baby comes to Earth, they don't have the ability to create boundaries, energetic boundaries, or protect themselves from high charge situations, from a loud sound or a vibration or anything that's happening in the environment with their caregivers or in life. They don't have the ability to regulate that experience. That's what our caregivers are for. If for some reason our caregiver, our parents, are not there to help us regulate and discharge the emotion, metabolize the emotion or the sensation in our little newborn baby body, or if the stress in the environment is caused by one of our caregivers, then as a newborn baby, as a little one, we need to figure out what to do, how to survive that experience. There are different coping strategies and defense strategies that we will try out to help buffer us from the direct experience of the sensation, of the stress, of the emotion, of the charge. And once we find a coping strategy that works for us, that helps us survive that experience, we'll use it again in the future when there's another stressful experience. We'll turn to that strategy again. And so as this happens over time, again and again, and this strategy is repeated, it eventually becomes a pattern. It actually becomes a pattern of the way that the energy is directed or held within our physical body. So as time goes on, it becomes more of a pattern, less of a strategy. It's like we've used the strategy, now it's our go-to. It's what we turn to in stressful times. What happens with each of these patterns, there is a different view, a different lens that we view the world through. So if somebody has used one strategy and it's worked, they'll develop a certain pattern that may be different from another person. And so each of the patterns have a different way of viewing the world, understanding and making sense of reality and life experiences. And with this, you can begin to see how when we first come to Earth, our natural state is presence. It's pure awareness, right? When we're first here, before our mind has even formed, we're just absorbing and taking it all in from this pure awareness of just noticing, experiencing through our senses, and it's pure awareness, pure presence. And then as time goes on, we need to take on these strategies to survive. They become patterns, they become a certain way that we view the world through, and also a certain way that we relate to ourselves. It becomes a false self and personality, where our true self is pure presence. The false self is this illusion of I am this certain way, I am this certain person, and I'm different from this person who runs this different strategy, and it becomes this illusion of what we think we are, who we think we are. But it's really this mask, it's this layer that has formed on top of pure presence as a way to buffer us, protect us from the direct experience in the past that was painful. Unfortunately, the truth of the situation is that most of us don't know that we are even in a pattern. We think that the way that we're viewing life is the only truth, the ultimate reality. The truth of the matter is that Oftentimes the message hasn't gotten through to our mind and to our body that we are now safe, that we don't actually need to use that pattern, to use that coping strategy to the same degree that we needed to in the past. We're actually safe now and things are different now. So we don't actually need to be running these patterns to the degree that we are. But since we're not aware of it, we just keep running in the patterns and we actually keep reenacting certain situations in our life that are similar to the past. So each pattern has its own way of being, reinforcing or self-perpetuating, because we'll view life through the certain lens, which then creates more experiences that fulfill that certain belief system and narrative as being true. So it's perpetuating. Thankfully, it doesn't have to be this way, and there are certain ways that we can begin to notice, oh, I'm in this pattern. So this begins with noticing which pattern do we personally default to in stressful times. And then we can start to see certain characteristics of when we're operating in one of those patterns versus operating in true presence. When somebody says something to us and we're defaulting, we can start to notice, oh, that's not really my true self that's showing up in this situation. There's a pattern that is running my behavior and running the way that I'm showing up in this relationship or scenario right now. And then we can discover there's certain steps to actually get out of each of these patterns and back into true presence, so that we are experiencing life and other people and all experiences from true presence underneath these patterns that have covered it all up for so long. The reason why understanding these survival patterns is so important, in my experience has been so helpful for me, is because it is this clear map that has allowed me to understand myself on a deeper level, to go beyond certain patterns and tendencies that I notice showing up in my life and relationships, but actually to have a clear understanding of the experience that I had in childhood, the stage of development, the needs that were not fulfilled, and how specifically that has correlated to the way that I protect myself, the pattern that takes hold of my life when there is stress, when there is lack of nervous system regulation, and what the narrative is of that pattern, what the thoughts are, the psychological defense, the way that my pattern protects me, and the ways that it's specifically cutting me off from experiencing true connection, cutting me off from experiencing true presence. And so it's become this beautiful journey of really honoring this strategy, this pattern that has kept me safe for so long, and also being able to see so clearly when I'm in pattern and when I'm not in pattern, and when I am in pattern, how to get myself out of the pattern and back into presence, so that I can consciously be choosing how I'm showing up in the world, how I'm interacting with people versus it running the show for me. That is the detriment, the reason that so many relationships go sideways and so many breakups and divorces happen, and why there's so much conflict in the world as a whole, because people are operating in certain patterns. And when they get together and they connect with each other, they think that they're connecting with each other's true self, but really it's all of these layers that have hardened over time and created this false self. That's why there's so much reaction and pointing fingers of you're right, I'm wrong, like all of this nonsense that happens. It's coming from the patterns. To be able to understand this work, it's given me this insight into patterns that other people are operating in and how I can attune to them in a unique way, right? If somebody's operating in one pattern versus another, there's very different ways that I'm going to show up to be with this person versus this person, to best honor where they're at and help create a sense of safety so that we can all come back to presence. When we look at people who are passionate about self-growth and self-awareness and evolution and being the best person that they can be, this map of the survival patterns is incredibly supportive. When we look at parents or soon to be parents who are raising little ones, our newest generation, this map of the survival patterns and the stages of development that are associated with each pattern, the specific needs that are required at each stage of development so that we don't go into these patterns, so that our needs are fulfilled. This is so important. When we look at practitioners and healers and coaches, people who are holding space for others and guiding others, this map, being able to really understand the people that are in front of you, their patterns and their tendencies and the core wounds there and what is needed in order to get them back into presence, this is so important. If you have been resonating with what I've shared in this video so far on the survival patterns, there are two things that I have to share with you. So number one is last week I hosted a free workshop all about the survival patterns. I talked about how they originally form, where they come from, the stages of development that each of them are associated with, the shadows and the gifts of each pattern. So there are certain ways that people will show up in pattern, and then the gifts that you can gain access to when you're coming back to a place of presence and you're healing the patterns. I shared a lot. So it was actually a 2-hour-long workshop. If you're interested in tuning into that free workshop, I'll share the link in the video description. And then the second thing that I have to share with you is that I've also launched a course called Foundations. So it's the Survival Patterns Foundations, and it is a much deeper dive. I'm giving away and sharing everything that I have learned about these patterns and how they show up, how to identify when you're in a pattern, how to know which pattern you're in and other people go into, and most specifically, how to get out of each of these patterns and come back to a place of presence. Foundations is a 4-week live course starting on February 12th. So in just a few days, we're going to begin together. There's going to be a full course platform that you'll log into and watch all of the video content, and then we'll also have live Q&A calls. Of course, everything that is shared in this course is going to first and foremost support you, and then also gets to inform you on how to best connect with the people around you. So your friends, your family, significant other, clients, and everybody in the world at whole, to be able to know how to attune to different people and different patterns. So if you're interested in joining Foundations, I'll share all of the info in a link in the video description as well. One more thing is that not only have I been studying this work of the survival patterns for the past almost 4 years, but I have also had the pleasure and incredible opportunity to mentor and learn directly from Stephen Kessler, the author of the 5 Personality Patterns, which has been obviously incredibly supportive for me on this journey. I've also been supporting my clients over the years in this work and identifying their patterns and getting out of their patterns, and the results, the outcome, have been so insane to notice, like within a 3-month span, that I'm even talking to and interacting with the same person. It's such an incredible journey. So I wanted to share that that's the place that this course has come from, and my primary intention in finally creating this Foundations course is to share this with more people. There have been so many beings in our community over the years who have picked up the 5 Personality Patterns book, and you may have gotten through part of it, but it's pretty dense. And so if you're one of those people who have started the journey but you still don't really get the whole thing and how to actually integrate this into your daily life, then this is a perfect experience for you to join Foundations. All right, my love, thank you so much for tuning in and being here and watching this video. It really means so much to me that you're here and supporting and interested in this topic specifically, because it really feels to be my heart's work right now, and my biggest passion is sharing this. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Give this video a thumbs up if you have found it supportive and insightful, and drop your comments in the comment section down below. And I look forward to seeing those of you who have joined Foundations in just a few days from now. All right, love, I will see you in the next video. Mwah.